Hello, I'm Liz Van Vliet, and welcome to the Assist with Impact podcast. Join me as I explore the competencies and capabilities that allow you to assist with impact. I'll be sharing practical tips, strategies, and insights that will help you move beyond what I call the order taker zone and be that little hinge that can swing big doors. If you're ready to be more proactive and have more impact in your role, then this is the place for you. Let's get started with the episode. Well, hello, lovely listeners. Welcome to episode 174 of the Assist with Impact podcast. Lovely to be back with you. Bringing you this episode this week. It's another solo episode, and it's on a topic that I think is top of mind for everyone at the moment, and that is all about, is ChatGPT and artificial intelligence going to take your job as an assistant? So what does ChatGPT and AI mean for linchpin assistants? That's the topic for this week's episode. So, as I was thinking about putting this episode together, I read this article today, which unfortunately had artificial intelligence coming out on top. It's an article from the New York Times, and the title of the article is How ChatGPT and Bard Performed as My Executive Assistants. And I've put the link in the show notes, but for those of you that may not be able to get to the article, I'm just going to sort of read through a bit of the sort of summary parts of it. So it says, to test that theory, the journalist says, I came up with a list of tasks that people might ask of a human assistant. I prodded friends who have been executive assistants and startup founders who have worked with professional helpers, and I read executive assistant job postings on LinkedIn. Then I rounded up the 4 most common responsibilities of an executive assistant, which appeared to be helping with meeting preparations by doing research and professional background checks on the person an executive is meeting with, summarising meetings and jotting down the notes in a tidy, easily scannable format, planning business trips and compiling detailed travel itineraries, managing an executive's calendar, including booking meetings and rescheduling appointments. Finally, I turned to ChatGPT and Bard and told the chatbots to assume that I was the chief executive of a lazily named AI startup, artificially intelligent, and that they were my executive assistants. I asked them to help with each of these tasks. My experiment illustrated just how far behind Bard is from ChatGPT. But more important, the chatbot succeeded in carrying out most of the tasks, even if imperfectly. That raised the question of whether the chatbots could eventually automate the roles of human executive assistants, as well as other white-collar jobs that involve administrative work, including front desk workers and accounting professionals. A disturbing thought with no clear answers. So, as I said, I will put the link to this article in the description, the episode description, for those of you that would like to go and read it. And I fully expect that you will see the article popping up on LinkedIn, and I will, in fact, share it myself on LinkedIn. so that people can discuss it. I'm not going to join a free-for-all, though, in sticking the boot in to what I think is a really interesting discussion. And this guy, the journalist, has gone to a significant amount of trouble to do this little experiment comparing both ChatGPT and Bard in this exercise. So every day you're reading LinkedIn posts, seeing webinars and blog posts about how you need to get on board with using ChatGPT or Bard in your job, or you're going to be left behind. So should you be worried that ChatGPT or Bard is going to take your job? I don't believe you should be. Should you be getting yourself up to speed with how to leverage these tools as an assistant? Absolutely. And I just apologise for my new puppy barking in the background. That is Pepper, our new cavoodle, who for some reason is barking at something. I have no idea what. So, in the same way that a secretary in the 1960s could not ignore the electric typewriter, or in the early 90s, we couldn't ignore the PC and early email technology. Just a little anecdote for you. When I was working at IBM in the early 90s and the company was in a world of pain, a new CEO took the helm. On his first day, he walked into what was to be his new office, the office of the former CEO, and he noticed that something was missing. He looked around and he asked, where was his PC that he expected to be on his desk? His staff responded that the former CEO didn't have need of one. Now, if you know your history, you may recall that it was this exact inability to adapt to the rise of the PC that was the exact reason that IBM was in such financial turmoil in the first place, having left the door open for Microsoft and Bill Gates to waltz in and take the PC market away from them, was why Lou Gerstner had arrived as CEO of IBM in the first place. Yes, adaptability, flexibility, and curiosity is what is required of you as an assistant right now. That is what is required. Ignoring artificial intelligence, ignoring ChatGPT and Bard and any other artificial intelligence tools that are out there, it will be at your peril. I read an article this week in the Australian Financial Review that quoted an academic called Toby Walsh. He is the chief scientist at the University of New South Wales Artificial Intelligence Institute. Walsh says that every computer program will soon have a tool like ChatGPT built into it, one that is going to be sitting there waiting to help finish your email, type some stuff into your spreadsheet, write a business plan, or make some slides for your PowerPoint. That was a quote from him. I use Canva to do my graphic design. Canva now has, artificial intelligence capability to help me with my graphic design. So Walsh says artificial intelligence will take responsibility for what he calls the 4 Ds of work: the dirty, the dull, the difficult, and the dangerous. But he believes AI will never be able to emulate our social intelligence, our emotional intelligence, our creativity, and our adaptability. So when you're thinking about AI and ChatGPT, I want you to think about the opportunities it presents for you to offload the dull out of your day, out of your week, and replace it with more interesting and creative contributions that you can make to your manager and to your organization. How can you expand the boundaries of your role and leave behind the dull? Because when I was doing the role of the assistant, oh my giddy aunt, I hated the dull. I hated the dull with a vengeance. So I'm delighted to say that I've invited a few of the administrative experts that I've been seeing demonstrating leadership in this area of ChatGPT and artificial intelligence to be guests on my podcast to show you and to give you ideas about how you can upskill yourselves and stay ahead of the curve when it comes to this area. Right now, I would really be advising you, if you're not already doing it, to be making sure that you are following these thought leaders that are out there in the administrative profession so that you can stay current and that you are out there playing with tools like ChatGPT and Bard so that you become familiar with them and the other tools. And I will include some helpful links in the episode description for you to be able to link through to. And I just want to finish this episode with three things for you to keep in mind if you're not already aware of these three things when it comes to playing and getting curious with ChatGPT. If you're using the free version, I want you to remember that you and the data, the information that you're entering in, there's an expression that when it's free, you are the product. So be careful about the information you submit. Most organizations will have released, I'm pretty sure all of them by now will have released policies about what is okay to put in. If you're doing it for your own personal reasons, just remember that if you're using the free version, if it's free, you're the product. So just keep that in mind in terms of your privacy. If you aren't paying for any digital product, you are making your information available to the developer of that product, and privacy is something you want to be careful about. Second thing is results are not always accurate. ChatGPT is like a middle-aged white mansplainer. They're very good with plausible deniability. They look very credible, but the information is not always accurate. And there's plenty of examples online where ChatGPT results have been proven to be inaccurate. So always verify that the result is accurate before you go presenting it as accurate and credible. But it's really great when you're sitting in a meeting and people are bandying around terms and you don't understand it, to use ChatGPT to get definitions. That's a really great way of using ChatGPT. And then third thing, use ChatGPT to practice your prompts. Prompts are the art of ChatGPT. If you don't like the result that ChatGPT gives you, if you ask it a question or to give you something and you don't like the response, ask again, because it means you need to craft a better prompt. Keep trying and work on crafting a better prompt. So if you ask it to give you something, so for example, you ask it to come up with an email or the body of an email, and it comes back to you and you don't like the tone or the voice of the email, ask it to try again. If you ask it to try again and it's still not quite right, cut and paste the body of a previous email. Maybe you're asking it to put together an email that you want it to use. You want it to write an email using the voice of your manager. So, for example, you could cut and paste an email that has come from your manager previously, and you could say something like, this is an example of the tone and voice of the person that I need this email to come from. Use this tone and voice and put together an email with this information. And then it's going to come up with the email that you've asked it to with the information. And then if it comes up with the information and it's still not right, you then say, try again and make it more personable or make it more formal. Do you see what I mean? You need to tell it what you want. That's what ChatGPT is good at. It will do what you ask, but you need to ask for what you want. And sometimes that's going to take multiple steps, but it's all in the art of the prompts. And that is where the prompts you need to play. You need to play around with it. And that might take you a bit of time, but once you've worked it out, you will find it is your new best friend. So that's all I've got for you today. Bottom line is that I don't want you to feel threatened by artificial intelligence. I want you to think, when I've talked to you previously in my podcast about the idea of a SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, and strengths and weaknesses are what's internal to you, and opportunities and threats are what is external to you. This is something that is external to you, but it can be viewed as either an opportunity or a threat. Well, I want you to see it as both an opportunity and a threat. And I want you to look at how you can make it an opportunity, how you can leverage it as an opportunity and mitigate it and reduce it as a threat. That's the challenge that I want to set for you. And over the coming weeks, I'm going to be letting you know who I've got coming up in the podcast as guests for you. You can probably guess who some of them are. There's a lovely lady from Canada and a lovely lady from the UK. And I'm going to be looking forward to bringing both of them to you on the podcast. And if anyone's out there who knows who we have in Australia, who is my ChatGPT artificial intelligence admin guru, I'd love to bring somebody from the Antipodes to the podcast audience. Anyway, that's all I've got for you today. Look forward to seeing you or talking to you in a couple of weeks. And I want to invite you to get on over and have a look at the new and improved The Linchpin Assistant website. As you know, I have rebranded from my EA career and I have a new and improved website, thelinchpinassistant.com. I will put the link in the show notes, but I would love you to go over and check it out and help me improve my SEO. That would be wonderful. Thanks for listening, guys. See you in a couple of weeks. listening to today's show. I hope you enjoyed it. If you'd like to see the show notes, head over to my website. It would be great if you haven't already done so. If you enjoyed the show, if you could kindly go to iTunes and leave a review. It helps other people find the show. Thanks for listening and have a great week.